It's week 2 of my tryout, and today I have a very interesting opportunity ahead of me here in the Research Triangle Park. Several of those companies have opened their doors to teachers today. They are inviting teachers in to see what they do and how they support the STEM field. I'm going to tour the facilities of Credit Suisse, a financial institution. Not necessarily something you think about when you say STEM, which is one of the reasons that I chose that company. That was an incredible opportunity to be here and talk to these folks who work in an IT industry, in an IT field, in support of the rest of their company and the financial services that they provide. At least half of the people did not have an IT background in college. They did not major in a technology field. They weren't computer science people. But what they all had was an understanding of how to work with people. Every single person talked about 4 important skills that they use every day in every one of their projects. They talked about being creative. They talked about the ability to critically think. They talked about the ability to communicate, and they talked about the ability to collaborate, what we call in education the 4 C's. And one of the things that we hear all the time in education is that we are preparing students for jobs that don't yet exist. And that really just becomes a buzzword. It becomes a nice little saying. It becomes this nice little motivational piece to make us, to get us to prepare these wonderfully gifted creative thinkers in our classrooms. But we never get the opportunity as teachers to talk to somebody for whom that is true. We never get the opportunity as teachers to see what that actually means. I've been fortunate enough that I've done a few other things outside of education. So I have a little bit of a perspective on some aspects of that, but what I have is old knowledge. It's old, it's gone, it's expired. So getting a chance to go on site to see that kind of thing was so important today. And I wish there was a way we could do that for all teachers on a regular basis. This opportunity was made available today, and it was purposely scheduled on a day when most schools were not in session so teachers could attend. Well, schools ended up having to meet today because of weather makeup days, because of snow and ice about a month ago. But there were teachers who were on a year-round schedule who didn't have the opportunity to be able to come. And there was no money to pay for a sub so that they could come. So how do we get the people in the real world who are doing this, who can testify that yes, I'm using these 4 C skills in this environment, and nothing that I do on my job today is something that I learned in college? How do we get those people in front of teachers so teachers can understand it? How can we then get those people to help teachers develop assignments, to develop activities, to develop lessons that can then cultivate that in the classroom? And that's where my mind right now is just whirring. So many ideas. How can I make this happen in my classroom? Today's experience was just invaluable along those lines. Now the only thing that I have to figure out is, where do we go from here? And this really begs the question of, what should we be teaching in our schools? Students still have to learn their multiplication facts. Students still have to be able to write a coherent essay. Students still need to be able to identify the 8 parts of speech. Students still need to be able to perform long division, even if they will use calculators for the rest of their lives. How do we cultivate those skills, those 4 C skills: critical thinking, creativity, communication, and collaboration? What should the nature of what we do in our classrooms every day look like? And that is the $64 million question. In fact, it might be the Powerball question. How do we, as teachers, teach the basics, teach the standards, and still prepare the student for these careers that don't even exist yet? How do we help them develop the skills that how do we help them develop the skills that will be necessary to be successful in the marketplace? How do we develop these students so that they can go out and not just be successful for personal sake, but advance our society? We could argue that those are things that they should develop post-high school. Let's just focus on getting the basics and making sure that they know A, B, and C. And then once they get out of high school, then develop those skills. We might be selling ourselves short if we do that. What things are really necessary for us to learn? It was very interesting today that one of the things that I heard repeatedly is that a 4-year college degree was not necessary. And these people were talking about IT-related careers. In some cases, yes, they want that 4-year degree. But in many others, not so much. That does not become an impediment to you getting hired, because they will be looking at your experience, your certifications, things of that sort. I'd be real curious to hear what you think students should know by the time that they graduate from high school. And I'd like you to be as comprehensive as possible. It might be easier for you to list what you don't think students should know. But down below in the comments, please tell me, is it important that a student be able to factor polynomials? Is it important that a student be able to give us the formula for photosynthesis or for cellular respiration? Does every student need to know the Krebs cycle? Does every student need to be able to write a 4-page paper on the analysis of plot development and Great Expectations? What are the basic facts, knowledge that we want a student to have? And then what are the skills? Because that's really where the debate comes in. Can we focus on skills without losing an emphasis on the knowledge? Can we focus on the knowledge without putting the skills to the side? Again, that's another Powerball question. Is our system set up to allow such a thing to even happen? What role should testing play? I've been struggling with how to take all of these thoughts and bring them together into one nice, tidy summary, to a nice little cohesive whole, because I think that this issue is way too big to be able to do that to. And so I'm going to cut it off right here and continue this in the next episode. For now, I want this episode to serve as a conversation starter. And I'd like to have a two-way conversation with you. What do you think we should be teaching in school? And you don't have to be a content expert to list all the scientific things that should be covered, all the things from history that should be covered, all of the math skills that should be covered. List what you know. I'd like to know what your thoughts are. And I'm probably going to just take another 2, maybe even 4 episodes, sort of stretch this thing out and talk about things like curriculum,
who gets to decide what we teach, and how all of the dynamics of politics, of autonomy, of testing, of accountability, how all of that stuff plays into it, so that we can really get a good idea on what is happening in our schools versus what we think is happening in our schools, with what we would like to see happen in our schools. Again, let me say it one more time. Comment below. What are your thoughts on this? And of course, always, I appreciate any comments you can give. Please like, please share, please subscribe. And as always, give somebody a reason to hope and learn something new every day.